Welcome to the pod. You were listening to What the Reality with me, Cache Roberts, and this is your part two to the Jersey Shore deep dive. What's the reality on What the Reality? We are diving into life after Jersey Shore and also the friendship dynamics, the hookups, Mike's tax evasion, Ron's, on and off again DV situations, and ultimately where everyone ended up at and how Jersey Shore Family Vacation really impacted so many spinoffs following it. Welcome to the pod. You're listening to What the Reality with me, Cache Roberts, and we are back with another episode. We are in fact back with Jersey Shore Part 2. I'm sorry it took so long. I definitely shouldn't have even put out the first part because the way it fell, like Happy New Year, you guys, if you're tuning in from the part one. The way it fell, I should never even put the first part out because with holiday Christmas, I misunderstood the amount of time. I misperceived how much time I would have around holiday time. I had time because I literally took off. But when I tell you guys, I read. I wanted to read. I wanted to relax my mind. I didn't want to do research and I didn't want to put out like a crappy episode for nothing. So I apologize if you've been waiting on part 2. It came a month later. At last, we've made it. Obviously, that's not the format we try to do on What the Reality, but the beauty of What the Reality is that it is reality. And my reality be going on just as much as these other folks and whatever I'm reporting on. So sometimes it's like, I'd rather wait to give you a good episode, a good, heavily produced, researched episode versus scrambling and putting out and not really digging because I'm a natural digger. I like to get to the bottom of it. So in part 2, well, let's just recap part 1. If this is your first time listening, hello. Thank you so much for listening to What the Reality with me, Cache Roberts. Overview of part 1. Part 1, we broke down the origins of Jersey Shore. We talked about the original 8, and then, of course, Dina, who would eventually come on. We talked about Angelina, like, not really fitting in, disappearing, leaving the group. Snooki's kind of tough time. We talked about Jersey Shore initially supposed to be a challenge type show that featured heavy Guido men. It was supposed to be focused more so on the male versus the female counterpart. It was going to be an all-male show. So glad they didn't do that because we would never gotten Snooki and JWoww, right? They realized pretty soon in that we can't just have a bunch of men working out. That's all they did: GTL, gym, tan, laundry. I mean, it wouldn't make for a show. So eventually they figured out, like, oh my gosh, we're going to do a Guido show. We need to find some Guidettes. The show also was supposed to be on VH1. Obviously went to MTV. And yeah, it was MTV's Golden Tan Child. And it gave the Hills a run for their money. Even though they were never in competition, they never aired the same night. Jersey Shore is a culture phenomena. So I wanted to talk about it because, there's been a lot of Jersey Shore anniversaries. Like, I think it's been like 20 years now since the premiere. Maybe, I think it's been 20. I don't think we're at 30 yet. Lord. I think it's been 20 years since the premiere. Or not even 20. I think it's been like 15 or something. It was some anniversary, 13 or something. Maybe I'm really off. And then also I wanted to do this because I was doing The Hills the first time. So if you guys haven't listened to The Hills breakdown, make sure you listen to that. I do a deep dive. And then also I wanted to do this breakdown because Sammy, the sweetest bitch you'll ever meet, just got married. And it was just crazy because like the whole cast was there, obviously with the exception of Ronnie. So I just thought it was like a good opportunity to really do a deep dive of Jersey Shore, the cast, where they come from, and how this show became to be a culture phenomenon. So now we're going to talk about part 2, and we have our notes here. We got the notes. So in part 2, I'm mostly going to be talking about just like the friendship dynamics, the relationship dynamics. I'm also going to be talking about the scandals that happened after the show, which is like the big 3, honestly, and 2 of them involve Mike. There was a situation. I want to talk about who they were hooking up with on the show amongst each other, because I can't go back and let you guys know how many girls were picked up from Seaside Shore. And I also want to discuss like some of my favorite moments. Like when I think about Jersey Shore, these are the moments that I think about, or like iconic moments I think about. And I think the general public would agree with. And then I also just did a roundup of like what has come from Jersey Shore. So, like spinoffs, their spinoffs, but then also like MTV spinoffs. And then I also talk about like where do they stand now? Where are the people at now? And you can catch most of them on Jersey Shore Family Vacation. So let's hop right into it. Let's get into the Jersey Shore deep dive part 2. So like I said, we left off kind of like their salaries, how much they were making. Fun fact, if you guys didn't listen, but they didn't get paid anything for the first season. So it's so crazy to watch the first season because that was a knockout. Like, it's crazy to think they didn't get paid for that, but obviously they fixed that really quick because it's like, wait a minute, we just made MTV a bunch of money and we didn't get any of that. Let's get into the friendships and the situationships as we have it. So despite casting wanting obviously to produce a show with like new housemates, strangers, guys, some of the cast actually knew each other. I don't know if I talked about this in the first part, but like obviously I talked about like where they're from, and the places that they're from, they're small cities. So a lot of times you will see the cast kind of blip up. Even this scene, I was just watching the first season when Angelina's like, I think it's like the 4th episode, and Mike's going off because he's clearly upset that Ronnie and Sam have found their way, because Mike was feeling Sammy. He thought he was going to hook up with Sammy. She left him kind of in the mud. That's an iconic moment I talk about because the way he was spazzing out after that, he was mad. But the way he was behaving after, even Angelina, you heard her say in the episode, she's like, Mike, I've known you for a long time and I don't like how you're acting. And I was just like, how did you know him from a long time? You just met him. So obviously, like, casting wants us to believe that they didn't know each other. This was a group of fresh faces, but there's actually a lot of dynamic, like there's a lot of interconnections within the cast. And I'll start off by saying Mike did know Angelina, and apparently he knew of Sammy prior. Him and Angie had actually shared a kiss or two in the past at the club. I'm trying to remember, where is Mike from? So Mike was from my findings. Where is he from? Manalapan, New Jersey. But Angelina, I know, was from Staten, and wasn't Sammy from New Jersey? She was from Hazlitt, New Jersey. Either way, apparently the group that Sammy hung out with, because she was 21 when she joined the show, like her friend group used to hang out with a certain male friend group. I don't know why I said male. Used to hang out with a male group. So there's like wouldn't be groups back then, like, oh my gosh, like, and I guess Mike was one of the guys from the male group. So they actually did know of each other, but they never dated before. And then I did find some information that Angelina and Mike had shared a kiss or two on the dance floor in their past, allegedly. Like, they knew of each other. And I think even Mike has admitted to this, because he was like, they all acted like they didn't know each other when they did notice that they did know some people. Because even Angelina and Vinny, they went to the same high school together. And Vinny has said this now in an interview. He was saying he was always, okay, first of all, when Vinny's debut, the way he says Sammy's not that cute, she's okay, like, it's just crazy to me how they used to talk. He was like, the first girl to come in, or like when he saw Sammy, he was like she's cute, but she could be like cuter. And then I guess for him was cute was Angelina, and I don't know if he's ever gonna admit that now, but he admitted it in an interview. One of his quotes was kind of like he knew Angelina from high school, and he's just always like, I never knew or thought I could get a girl like her. Like, I always wanted like a girl like her. And then their nickname for her was like Jolie for like season 1. I don't know why, but I think that was interesting. So they went to the same high school together. And they had an interesting, I would say he probably had a crush on her, even though he tried to act like he didn't have a crush on her. I feel like he had a crush on her. But you got to remember, Angelina joined the show. She had a boyfriend, and allegedly her man was married and going through a divorce. So that's that. And then Snooki and Dina actually met for the first round of interviews for season 1. Like I said in part 1, Dina actually got casted for the first season. She was supposed to join them, but she couldn't because of a family issue. So she doesn't join them until season 3. But she was originally going to be on the show, but it didn't work out. And then I think that's all the interconnections. I was reading something that like maybe JWoww knew of Ronnie or something, but I don't know if that was legit. What we do know and what we do have confirmed is that Vinny and Angelina went to the same high school. They're both from Staten Island. You know, Mike knew Angelina and Sammy prior. At least Sammy, just from like running around the same circle. I mean, the same group of friends. And then, like I said, Snooki and Dina, they had already met. That's why Snooki goes to pick her up season 3. Because it's like they were already friends and they had stayed in contact. You know, Snooki's like a fun-loving, go-lucky person. So it's like, she meets you, she clicked with you. She's gonna, you know, remember you probably. And then they're like known as the meatballs, honestly. Let's get into these friendship dynamics. I am weak. If you guys saw the way I spelled friendship, like I clearly was tired typing that. I said fried ships. Everyone's fried. Okay, so breaking it down, when you watch like the first season, let's just talk about like the bases, right? Breaking it down, Snooki has a tough time warming up to these group of people because these group of people think she's obnoxious. I mean, she comes in, she's like, parties here. She's not really welcomed. The group gets along without Snooki. Also, Snooki gets super drunk their first night. She's trying to make out with Jenny. She's trying to make out with the guys. And then she's like late for her first shift, you know, at the Seaside Shore, like the t-shirt company, because she's throwing up. And they're like, I don't want to be around someone throwing up. Like Vinny also was like, recently graduated. He was supposed to go to law school. So this was like his first summer, like, wow, now. And it's crazy to me how even like back then, it's like, these are younger people. Cause I think she was like 22. I think she was like 21 and she's like throwing up. And then they're like, yeah, we're not trying to be taking care of like anyone that's like throwing up. They were like embarrassed. They were like embarrassed in my Bethany Frankel voice. They were like, we do not want to be around people that are like throwing up. They can't handle their liquor, all this stuff. So she misses her first day on the job because she was like throwing up, you know, she was a mess. She just didn't really have a good couple of episodes. And I'm laughing if you're watching me on YouTube because there is a scene where so she apologizes to them at a Sunday dinner. I think it was a Sunday dinner or it was a dinner. And it's just interesting to me because they all accepted her apology. She apologized for being sloppy drunk. She's like, normally she's having a good time. So she thinks everything's good. She's in her room for one of these scenes. I'm talking about the first season. And Angelina and them are talking about these whores that the guys had brought back to the house in the hot tub. They took off their underwear. They was talking about them. For some reason, Snooki's in her room and she thinks they're talking about her. And I'm like, but you already apologized. So I don't understand why she thought they were talking about her. And she's like, I can clearly hear Angelina talking crap about me in the whole group, about me being in the hot tub. I was cracking up because I'm like, they weren't even talking about Snooki. And that's what makes Snooki want to leave. Right? So she was going to leave until Sammy, the sweetest bitch you will meet, pulled her to the side and was like, girl, you were fine. Like, we were not talking about you. I will be that friend if you need a friend in this house. Like, it really wasn't that deep. Like, why are you leaving? Like, you apologized. We were all going to move forward. So it's definitely some miscommunication. Obviously, they get to know Snooki. Snooki's really cool. And she ends up becoming very lovable. Her and Mike had a drunken makeout in the hot tub. Like, they end up seeing Snooki's like harmless. Like, she's really cool and down to earth, and so much as to when during season 1 when there's a confrontation with a man and he punches her right in the face, the group really rallies around her. And they were already like cool with her before, but I will say I will say it's not until she's physically punched in the face that you can really see a shift in the roomies really trying to make an effort with Snooki and like, yo, that's not cool. Like, Snooki wasn't doing anything to get punched in the mouth. I mean, she was in the guy's face, but that does not mean you punch a woman in the face at all, honestly. So it was just crazy to watch. Snooki obviously finds her bearings. And she becomes very cool with JWoww. I would say JWoww is kind of like her girl, her bestie in the house. JWoww and Ronnie are actually really cool. And I feel like even on Jersey Shore Family Vacation, before like all his domestic stuff, which we will talk about, I feel like JWoww and Ronnie have always maintained a cool vibe. Maybe it's because they were rooming like the first season, but I feel like he even says it the first season, like, I trust JWoww like out of all the girls here, and vice versa. Like, they have a very brother sister relationship. They are really cool. And then you could see Paulie and Vinny, of course, forming that friendship, and even I would say Mike, the situation. The only reason Mike Ronnie, I feel like he was cool with the guys, but his relationship with Sammy started like episode 4, maybe 5. I think it was like episode 4. So he was very endorphed into that relationship. And honestly, I feel like it was always like Sammy and Ronnie, and it was like the 3 guys. But then also, I feel like it was the 3 guys because Mike was so mad and bitter that Sammy didn't want him, and that how dare she picks this other guy over him. Like, he was very affected by that. And in retaliation, I feel like, therefore, Ronnie wasn't as close with the other men, right? Other dynamics. We got, obviously, Dina coming on season 3. And she ended up being really cool with everyone because she knew Snooki, but she definitely had a fascination with Polly. And then we talk about Angelina. So it's shocking to me because it's like the way people describe Angelina, like if you haven't watched the show, you would think she didn't last at all. She actually lasted like 5-6 episodes before she leaves. Or maybe I'm not remembering that right. But she only doesn't last because she refuses to work. At the end of the day, you're staying at this house. The only rule is that you have to work for the man that is lending you guys this house to stay here for free. You have to work at his t-shirt shop. And she refuses. She's very disrespectful. She has him talk to her in the bathroom like she's sick because she didn't show up, because she was hungover, because there was a whole situation with the married ex-boyfriend the night before. And then Angelina gets the boot. So her and her trash bags get the boot. And I cannot believe she still walked out with trash bags and like didn't buy some freaking luggage on the sea. I mean, not on the sea, at the Jersey Shore or something. It's just crazy to me how she's still like, she's a freaking mess. She comes in with trash bags and she leaves with trash bags. Angelina doesn't last, but like the group is still like pretty intact, pretty in function when she leaves, except for like we see this like boiling tension between Mike and Ronnie, and this would soon after fuel their dynamic for the rest of the seasons. Like, you know, Mike and Ronnie really did not get along for a good amount of time, and it's all because of Sammy. Sammy, when you watch that back, she was pulling a fast one over Mike, but I think with Mike, she kind of got the egg because she sees what type of person he is, and she was interested in Ronnie. And then the rest is history. Obviously, Sammy is happily married, and she welcomed baby boy. Ronnie has had his share with exes, so that's that. But it is to say Ronnie and Mike were fine before Ronnie became interested in Sammy. So that's that for friendship dynamics. Let's get into who hooked up on the show, at least. So we know infamously Jenny blew up her relationship at home for a little flirt and pander and banter with Paulie. And I think like, I can't remember if they went all the way. I know there was like, she saw his pierced D and all that stuff, but can't remember if they went all the way. They've made out and stuff. I don't know if they ever went all the way, but like, I would have so loved to see them go all the way, because I just always thought they would have been a hot couple. But we know they hooked up in terms of like, you know, made out. I'm not sure. I can't remember if they went all the way. We know Vinny and Snooki went all the way a couple times. We know that Snooki and Mike possibly went all the way. That is something he maintained on the show, especially during the Italy season when they were in Italy and she was dating Gianni at the time. That's the real tea. We know that Angelina and Mike have hooked up. I don't know. They didn't hook up on the show though, did they? Or did they hook up like before the show? We know that there was some flirting with her and Vinny as well, but I don't know if that was on the show. And then who else? And then obviously we have the Sammy and Ronnie that they were hooking up. But I want to get into like, honestly, like that whole Pauly D and freaking JWoww, the way she tries to gaslight, and this is before even gaslight's a word. I don't know what they called it back then. I can only think of gaslight. The way she literally tries to gaslight the guys into like, she did make out with him. She was dancing on Pauly D, and then she tries to gaslight them. She's like, "Yeah, I didn't hook up with anyone." And then they're like, "Yeah, you did." And then and she's like, "Who?" And then Pauly says, like, Ronnie's like, "Well, you were dancing on Pauly," and Pauly's just standing right there. And then she's like, "I didn't hook up with you, did I?" And then Pauly's like, "Yeah, we made out." And then she's like, "No, we didn't." And she's like, "Who did you hook up with?" And he was like, "Just you." Like, the way she tries to gaslight it, she actually tried to get, I think I read something, I don't know if it's legit, but she actually was trying, they may have hooked up, but she literally could have, oh my gosh. I just got a text. She literally, it was all filmed, but I think there was some there, they could have possibly like went all the way, you guys. But I read somewhere that she had that removed from the show, or she didn't want that edit in the show because it was actually harming her relationship back at home. But from my understanding, the man already had broken up. Remember, they were like on and off, like they got back together and then they were like whatever. But I do think she like hooked up with Pauly. But it's just crazy to me how she tried to like gaslight him. But let's get into like some of the most iconic moments that happened on Jersey Shore. If we're talking about terms, DTF, I feel like it's hilarious. Grenade, when Mike called, like some of this stuff is hilarious. When Mike is trying to hook up with his girl. Also, Mike's process to trying to hook up with someone, at least during the first season, is difficult to watch, especially as this self-claimed ladies man. Obviously, Mike is totally reformed. He's with his high school sweetheart. We love that for him. He has 3 children, all of that stuff. But watching it as him as like this self-proclaimed player situation, him trying to get a woman in bed literally takes like several days, and like all the guys even peep game. Like, so there's clearly 2 girls. So there was a situation literally. That's why I also love the fact that Mike's name is Mike the Situation, because there's always a situation. But so there's a scene where they're walking on the boardwalk with these 2 girls back from the club. There's these girls in this Mercedes Benz drive by. They want to get with them instead. And so they try to get with these girls. The girls are not having it. I don't even know why the girls got out the car. They go in, maybe because they saw the cameras. They like, "Oh, let me be on TV." Either way, the 2 girls that they were initially walking on the boardwalk with to hook up with come back. And one of the girls is like clearly interested in, you know, Mike, and Mike's interested in her. And then the other one, they call that a grenade. A grenade is when she's not pretty. And I just think that is a funny term because the way they edit it as well, they were like, we have a grenade situation. I was just like, I am weak. But the way they edited it was hilarious because they used like the grenade sound effect. So I think grenade is like one of the most funny terms. Like when you think of grenade, you think of Jersey Shore and you think of an unpleasant looking woman. It's like hilarious. Not for the woman. It's just like these Italian terms, like these terms, like where are you guys getting these terms from? Like a grenade? Like, are you serious? And then obviously we have like DTF, like, are you down to F? And those 2 girls from the Mercedes Benz were not, because they were not trying to get in the jacuzzi. Also, them always trying to lure people into the jacuzzi is like disgusting. But anyway, then there's obviously like Pauly D's infamous like cabs are here, like, you know, whatever he says, like that is prime Jersey Shore. Like when the cabs would get there to pick them up. And like in terms of scenes, how can you not think of the time Snooki was so belligerently drunk and literally is getting arrested on the beach? Like she goes to work, she goes in the bathroom to drink, to like literally beer funnel. She was trying to funnel a beer can or whatever. And then he's like, "Girl, you was not about to work right now drunk." She just wanted to be drunk, okay? She did not want to work her shift. So she literally goes to the bathroom, tries to do that. She ends up leaving work. She goes to the bar drinking. She ends up drunk on the beach, arrested. And she's like just yelling at the police officer as she's walking the boardwalk, belligerently drunk. She's like, "I'm a good person," as she's getting carried away. Obviously, I think an iconic moment is literally someone showing up to the Shore house with trash bags. Like, Angelina, what the heck? But in Angelina's defense, she did not know how long Jersey Shore was going to be going on. She didn't even know she was like supposed to be staying there, which is weird because the way it's edited, I'm like, girl, you're just talking crap in your interview. In an interview I found, she was saying how like she didn't know how long she was going to be there and she just threw some clothes in some trash bags. But I'm like, girl, you don't have a suitcase? Like, ill. I think that's what Paulie said. He said he called it ghetto. He was like, it's kind of ghetto. Like, she just threw clothes in some trash bags. He was like, you don't have a relative or somebody you can ask for a suitcase? Like, you showing up to the Jersey Shore with trash bags. I think that's crazy. And like, honestly, people still associate her with that because that was still, they was calling her man that, or like, I think she ended up being with that trash man. Obviously, they got a divorce, but it's just like crazy. But I think also, in terms of Angelina, I think about when Mike is like calling her a dirty little hamster because she doesn't clean up. I'm just like, Mike is low key funny, and Mike be saying stuff, or Mike is funny. He's hilarious. But even when Jenny comes into the Shore house, she's like complete, like breast is out. You know, she got all this stuff in her hands and she's trying to figure out where to room. And Mike's like, well, why don't you just relax, baby? And like, he's like, why don't you just like take a beat, like drop off some of your stuff, like, hi, nice to meet you. Because she like walks in like a tornado. Like, it's just like, JWoww's here. And she's just like, she wasn't frazzled, but she was just all over the place. And Mike's like, well, why don't you have a seat? Because you look a mess. Like, it was just hilarious how Mike says certain stuff. And then in terms of Mike, I would also say like his huge freak out after Sammy basically declines him. She's like, yeah, I think I like Ronnie. And then like him trying to purposely talk crap about Ronnie. He's like, yeah, I think Ronnie's trying to like hook up with like all the girls in the house. Like, I don't think you're not special, or like all this stuff. And then like him just totally acting like a jerk once she makes it clear, or like once she kisses Ronnie. He's just like, totally jerk vibes after that. And then him like watching them make out, like he just is, it's a word, like he tries to act like it didn't affect him by trying to hook up with girls ever since, and it just was not working. Like he could never go all the way with any of the girls. It would get cut short either by their friend, or he would just get cut short. Like you could just tell he was affected. His ego was bruised. That's what I want to say. He had a bruised ego ever since Sammy did not want him and she wanted Ronnie. Like she picked her poison. Obviously Mike headbutting into a wall is crazy. I don't know what this is. I'm weak. I just got like the weirdest emo. Obviously Mike, the Italy season, literally, oh, that's just like a random email. Mike, during the Italy season, like headbutting his head into the wall, which we're going to talk about. That was from him tripping off of those prescription pills or him going through withdrawal. But I just remember that vividly. Like, why would you pound your head into the wall? Crazy. Jenny going up to Angelina. Jenny, I feel like Jenny, you could just tell she's always been about it. Her slapping the mess out of, like, she did like a total like knockout from behind, like hit him with a 2-piece from behind, stretched that arm, because he wasn't trying to walk her back to the hotel. You know, the guys, they always trying to be concerned with like who they want to sleep with. And then she was like upset when she saw him and like basically slapped the mess out of him, or like punched him kind of. It was like a 2-piecer, like I said, and she punched him twice. She punched him in the nose, and then Vinny's trying to grab her and she's just like, pow. And then obviously when she tells Angelina, she gives her an option: you can stay and get your ass beat, you can stay and get your ass beat, you can stay and get your ass beat. And I think that's the second season. Are they in Miami? I think it's whatever. It was definitely that season. I think they were in Miami, but obviously Angelina stayed and got her ass beat. What else is some iconic moments we love to talk about when it comes to Jersey Shore? When one of the umpteen times, Ronnie and Sammy broke up, and Sammy literally makes an announcement at the club that she's single and she needs a hot guy to dance with. And Ronnie's just in the corner by the tree, like looking at her dance. And she's like just literally dancing and grinding on these men. And Ronnie's just looking at her from the distance and he's just shaking his head in utter disbelief. He's like, oh my gosh. Like, it is so, that scene is like lives rent free in my head. It reminds me, I don't know if you guys watch Married to Medicine, the Jersey Shore. I mean, this is a stark contrast, but, or even Beverly Hills when there's that whole scene at poker night at Vince's and Eileen's house, and Vince is literally peeking through the garage door. Isn't his name Vince? He's peeking through the garage door and literally is like looking at the whole scene of like Lisa Rinna. It's Kim Richards, Kyle Richards, and Brandy like all arguing outside, and he's like peeking through. And then there's another scene on Married to Medicine, this most recent season, where Toya and Eugene are getting into it, and Dr. Mimi's husband, I'm spacing on his name, which I absolutely adore him, so I hate that I keep forgetting his name, but he's like peeking in the side and he like lifts his sunglasses to like see what they're arguing about. It's so hilarious. And then, of course, when you think about Jersey Shore, of course, you think about JWoww and Snooki's epic note to Sammy telling her that Ronnie cheated on her. And it was so funny to watch them type it out. But, like, I guess he, like, motorboat two girls or, like, someone. And then it was just a whole scene. They left it. And obviously that leads to Sammy and Jenny fighting, but I think writing the note was more hilarious than her finding it, and then them obviously denying it when when it was clearly them. I don't know why they didn't just fess up to that. I should have Googled that. Why? I don't know why they didn't just fess up to that it was them. I don't know if they weren't friends with her at the time and they were just trying to be like girls, and they're like, but I don't know. I just feel like, why wouldn't you want to admit that you left this note? Because their relationship at that point was clearly like, I think it was like fresher, but I'm just like, I don't know why they didn't want to just like kind of admit, like, yeah, we did write the note. Like, what was the big deal? I don't know. We'll find out. I'm not at that season yet, but I just, in terms of like iconic moments, when I think about Jersey Shore, it's like, obviously I think about that. And then, what's crazy, as I was making this iconic moments list, Vinny has some good confessionals. He's a confessional king. But in terms of like on action, I don't know if he's iconic. I don't have an iconic moment for Vinny. I really couldn't think, besides him like always like being super close with his mom. I guess that's super iconic. But I don't know if he has anything that's like super iconic that he said or whatever. But maybe it's him, the fist pumping thing. That's what we kind of learned from him, like beating the dance floor, They're like beating the beat. I guess that would be Vinny's iconic moment. There you go, Vinny. I gave you an iconic moment, because when I was literally making this list, I could not think of one. I was like, oh my gosh, like I don't think Vinny is iconic at all. But you know what? I just found that beating the beat, he's the one that taught us the epic Jersey Shore pump, fist pumping. I mean, the group of guys did, but he's the one that coined it, beating the beat. And that's what the people were calling it. So there you go, Vinny, something iconic to give you. I want to go into the scandals that had actually happened on Jersey Shore, and I think one of the ones you have to talk about initially is literally Mike's drug addiction problem, and then obviously his tax evasion. And then I also want to talk about the scandals. Well, I want to talk about the scandals that happened during Jersey Shore. Obviously, like Snooki getting punched in the face was crazy, but I want to talk about like huge things that just like came from watching Jersey Shore, and obviously Sammy and Ronnie's toxic relationship. But I would say one of the biggest scandals is Mike the Situation's drug addiction, and it was to prescription pills like oxycodone, but obviously he would eventually start dibbling and dabbling with like other stronger drugs. But I'm just saying, the way he smuggled pills season after season, and he confesses to all this in his novel, his autobiography, and I think it was called, what is it, Reality Check. It's called Reality Check. We have a situation or something. Making the best of my situation. So yeah, Mike opened up about his addiction. I'm going to read this People magazine to just talk about it. But yeah, he would literally smuggle in like hundreds of pills season. And the way he smuggled it in for Italy was also crazy, because you can't, like, going through an airport and stuff, and he did succeed. But then also some of his craziest moments, like, and then we learned like the code to certain stuff, like when he would say girls on the phone to his friends, that would mean like pills, like, and they would, it mean like buy 10 pills, like, so if they were like bringing 5 girls, I guess that would mean like 50 pills they were coming to bring from him. And just the like epic measures he went to make sure he was always high um is just crazy. So yeah, I'm gonna read this People magazine story, because I think people forget, like, when you think about Jersey Shore, like, yeah, it is like the good stuff, but like there was a good amount of like scandals that happened during the show and off the show. Obviously, it's brought them together. But like Mike, the situation has been sober since 2015. He's been to rehab, like, and honestly, he's the best he's ever looked. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's like in the best shape of his life that he's ever been. He's obviously settled down, but it's important when I think of Jersey Shore history. I do think of like, you know, the Guidos, the Gym Tan Laundry, but I also think about Mike having a prescription pill problem. So, Mike, the situation is from People Mag, went to extreme lengths in order to sneak drugs into the Jersey Shore house while filming. In his new memoir, Reality Check, obviously this article was published in 2023, but he has remained open since he's been sober in 2015. In 2012, like struggling with his sobriety. But in his new memoir, Reality Check, Making the Best of My Situation, the 41-year-old, who is now 43, I'm assuming, or 44 possibly, went into detail about battling addiction to prescription painkillers and how the production team for the MTV reality show kept a close eye on him because of it. He described the many ways he smuggled pills into the house each season of the MTV reality show. During season 2, he relied on crushing his pills into powder and hiding them inside empty capsules of the herbal fat burner pills he was allowed to have in the house. Like, imagine that. I know exactly how he was doing. Like, imagine crushing up all those pills and then putting them in like little capsules. During that time, he says he ran out of his supply, coming up with a convoluted plan to ditch cameras and producers in order to find more. So I think season 2 is when they did go to Miami. However, producers later put a clause on his contract for season 3 stating that he'd lose money if he ever took off again. So he literally just like ditched cameras and was like, I gotta go find me some more pills. Quote unquote, it was imperative I didn't run out of drugs mid filming again, he wrote in the book. Quote unquote, once more, I purchased and crushed up 500 pills to smuggle into the Shore house, relying on the old diet pill switcheroo. For the most part, it worked. Miraculously, I had judged correctly and didn't need to concoct any escapes to re-up. Season 3 is a little fuzzy because, well, I consumed 500 pills during it, but it seemed to go pretty smoothly. 500 pills and you're filming for a summer is crazy, with like 6 weeks. However, he later explained in the memoir that he had a bit more trouble smuggling his drugs while filming season 4 because the cast was shooting in Italy. Quote unquote, my fixation remained on how I was going to get enough pills through customs to keep me high the entire time we were in Italy. I settled on a new caper. I could fit 125 Rockasex into an Altoid 10. Wow. Wow. I'm just thought of an Altoid 10. I'm shocked he could fit 125. I filled 4 tins, then I removed the cushion from the inside of a pair of shoes, red and black Fila's. And I need to look these up because they sound like the shoes, I'm assuming. Red and black Fila's. Oh, no, they're not. I thought it was like the one shoes that have like, it's very interesting what those shoes look like. And it's so crazy. I think my sister sent me a picture of those shoes like today. I thought it was like some of these shoes. Like, he removed some cushion out of these. If you guys are watching me on YouTube, I just showed you a picture. Like, I thought he removed those some way. I don't know. But he is talking about, I pulled it up for the YouTube watchers. He's talking about these, which are like, oh my gosh, $40 now. These are $40 shoes now. That is so crazy. Um $40 shoes. Yeah, I see exactly. So he like removed the bottom part of it, which is crazy. Like the lengths you will go for your next hide. That is crazy. So he removed the cushions from the inside of the pair of shoes, red and black Fila's. He remembered those were his favorite shoes that season, and he cut out enough room in the heel to place 2 Altoid tins in each shoe. Wow. I then replaced the insole and packed the kicks in a large suitcase with 20 other pairs, he explained. My thought process was that with all those shoes, airport security wouldn't catch the 500 opiate pills I was smuggling into a foreign country, and I was right. The suitcase made it through immigration, no problem. But imagine if it didn't. Like, that's crazy. Being overseas and maintaining this hard partying lifestyle, Sorrentino ultimately ran out of his stash and was going through an involuntary withdrawal, a time known for the moment he infamously headbutted a concrete wall and nearly knocked himself out. That's when he did that, like when he was arguing with Ronnie, and then we just see him like into the wall. Withdrawals will make you do that. But immediately after getting back to New Jersey to film another season, the only thought Sorrentino had was that he was, quote unquote, going to do whatever it took to get his hands on more pills. Back in New Jersey, far from free, my brain and body lit up with the possibility of the physical and mental relief offered by finally getting more pills. Any considerations of rehab and quitting the show would have to wait. Sorrentino coming up with yet another plan, smuggled drugs, this time by speaking in code and getting his friend, who he calls Johnny the Unit, to pick up pills for him rather than trying to get them himself. That season, if you heard me on the phone, what season is this? This is last season. Yeah, this is like the last season. Because Italy's season 4. So that season, if you heard me on the phone asking someone how many girls were coming to the club, chances are I was talking about one of my boys from home in code. Girls meant pills, and the numbers equated to increments of 10, like I said. So, for example, if the unit told me he was bringing 5 girls to the club that night, I knew I was getting a 50 pack. After coming up with a code, Sorrentino would often schedule a discreet handoff with his friends while partying at the club, all while surrounded by Jersey Shore producers and camera crew. They'd go into a stall and wrap toilet paper around a piece of tinfoil, holding 50 or 100 pills, and drop it on the nasty janks or bamboo floor, and exit the bathroom without so much as looking at me. I make sure to use that stall, he explained in the book, though I was still Mike. The camera didn't follow me. I bend down, picking up the ball of toilet paper from the sticky club bathroom floor that no one in their right mind would touch, and I'd have my re-up. He pulled that feat almost every time we went to the club in season 5. And yeah, his book came out December 19th, 2013. Obviously, like I said, we know he has been sober since December 2015. So after the show finished, he did go to rehab in March 2012, and he checked in at the Cirque Lodge in Utah for his addiction of prescription painkillers, and remained sober for a year before eventually relapsing. And then finally in December 2015, he went back to rehab after he marked it as his like lowest point in time, because he actually tried heroin, like, and that was like his lowest moment, the fact that he even tried heroin. So he's been sober ever since December 24th, 2015. And I would say congratulations that he did that, especially with what was coming up, because during that, or not so long after, but it is after. So the thing is, he's eventually sober in 2015, which is I feel like we don't talk about how amazing that is for him, given that timeline, because in 2014, Mike the Situation knew a situation was about to come out. He was being charged with tax fraud for failing to pay taxes on $8.9 million. I think they rounded it to like $9 million. And so in 2017, so that was going on in 2014, and then he got sober in 2015. That's why I'm like, that's a really amazing thing. And then in 2017, there were more charges brought against him and his brother for him alleging tax evasion and structuring of bank deposits to avoid reporting thresholds. So, Mike the Situation tax evasion case. At this point, we're now seeing Jersey Shore family vacation. So we're kind of exiting Jersey Shore right now. Like, that was it. I just wanted to do a quick little deep dive, right? So now we're kind of entering our Jersey Shore family vacation. We know Jersey Shore Family Vacation is coming up very soon. It's going to premiere. And we also see all this stuff happening in the media with Mike the Situation and this tax case. Like, what is going on? Will this be featured on Jersey Shore Family Vacation? And yes, it was. I remember watching the first season, it playing out in his sentencing, which I think we saw in the second season. We also saw him and his high school sweetheart get married before was sentenced to 8 months in prison. His brother was sentenced to 24 months in prison. Like I said, I have another article breaking down what that tax case was about. And this is from People magazine. So he did plead guilty to the United States Attorney District of New Jersey. And this all happened in January 2018. So he was 36 at the time. He entered an expected plea in New Jersey. Excuse me, guys. I just like burped. He entered expected plea in a New Jersey federal court at a hearing Friday morning. As first reported through TMZ, he was accompanied by his girlfriend, Lauren Pess, and pled guilty. So they were just girlfriend, boyfriend at the time. But I know, obviously, I wonder if they were engaged, though, at this time. And he pled guilty to count 13 of the superseding indictment, which charges him with tax evasion. His brother Mark, 38, pled guilty to count 5, which charges him with aiding in the preparation of a false and fraudulent tax return. So he was prepping to do that, which I'm shocked he got more time. Quote unquote, what the defendants admitted to today quite simply is tantamount to stealing money from their fellow taxpayers. U.S. Attorney Carpenito said in a press release, all of us are required by law to pay our fair share of taxes. Celebrity status does not provide a free pass from this obligation. So according to TMZ, he obviously went to jail for 5 years. This isn't like an updated one. I thought I had an updated one. Maybe I do not. This is kind of written as if he didn't go off yet, and it's annoying me because they're saying, like, according to TMZ, he faces up to 5 years in prison and up to $250K fine. Obviously, we know he served only 8 months, so he actually got out in September, and he went in January, so he did serve his full 8 months time. But the judge did approve him to travel to Miami, where his former castmates from the MTV reality series were currently filming for Jersey Shore Family Vacation reboot. But yeah, so the two were initially indicted in September 2014 for tax offenses and conspiring to defraud the United States after allegedly failing to properly pay taxes on $8.9 million in income from 2010 to 2012. This is literally on the heels of Jersey Shore ending. In April 2017, both men were indicted on additional charges, including tax evasion, structuring, and falsifying records. Initially, they pled not guilty to all charges. Obviously, they changed their guilty plea. And yeah, he ended up serving his sentence. But ever since then, Mike has led a pretty clean life. I know something came out maybe like 2023 that he possibly still owes taxes, like $2.3 million. He got out in September 2019. So I think he served his full time. His brother, I think, possibly got out earlier, but I think he got out on condition of doing volunteer work, but I also was reading that he didn't even complete that. So, I mean, he must have was doing something correct. Obviously, now we know that Mike is living a pretty clean life. You know, he has 3 kids with his high school sweetheart. They are married, and he has still remained sober throughout all of this, and he served his time and he came back. I'll never forget, though, watching this, like, during Jersey Shore Family Vacation, like, whatever Snooki met, she's like, he's not built for prison. I'm like, line up all those Jersey Shore men. I think Mike the Situation is built for prison. Maybe not at the point he was at that time, but at a certain time when you defraud him that much money, you was made for prison, and you would have been fine. But I don't know, the way she said it, I didn't like the way she said it when she was like, he's not built for that. I'm like, girl, whatever the heck that mean. I mean, are any of us built for prison? So we got through Mike's stuff. Now let's talk about the stuff that was brewing over there with Ronnie and all the stuff he got going on. So Ronnie has anger issues. That is not shocking. That is not shocking at all. This man has serious anger issues, and he had found himself in a tumultuous relationship, and that had actually played out on Jersey Shore Family Vacation. So he was dating, and also Jersey Shore Family Vacation, Sammy was not on initially. She is on now, and Ronnie is actually off now, even though they have reunited and they've seen each other. But we can always say one thing about Ronnie: he has a very bad temper. So Ronnie is in this relationship with this girl, Jen Harley, and their relationship is just quite toxic. It's very reminiscent to his relationship with Sammy. Maybe not nearly as bad, but it's very like, oh my gosh, like it's some toxic stuff going on. And they initially, I think they first started dating. Yeah, they were first started dating in 2017. So that was like February. They initially started dating sometime between February and July. I'm reading an In Touch Weekly magazine article to really break down the timeline of the relationship. Do you guys remember Ronnie, Pauly D too? Pauly D went on Famously Single first, I believe. That was on E. I actually really liked it. And I think maybe Ronnie went on the second season, and that's where he met Malika, Khloe Kardashian's bestie, the twin. And remember they dated? They dated for like under a year, I think. Which is crazy. So it's just I feel like we forget about so many reality shows. But you guys remember that reality show? Like it was about a bunch of famous people that were single, famously single, literally. And remember from that, Pauly D was dating Aubrey O'Day. So they both found girlfriends. Obviously, didn't last. They're in two different separate relationships. So I'm just saying, do you guys remember that? So after Ronnie dates Malika, he gets with this Jen Harley girl, and infamously has said on the internet, you cannot turn a hoe into a housewife. But they had a very tumultuous relationship, which ultimately led to his demise on Jersey Shore Family Vacation, because there was a lot of domestic violence situations, a lot of cops involved, you know, a lot of physical violence, allegedly, a lot of back and forth. He ended up having a kid with her. And it's crazy. Well, it's not crazy because like I heard we saw that the girl was allegedly crazy. But Ronnie has full custody of his daughter and lives in Miami right now. So obviously he's in a better place, but we're just taking a trip down the memory lane. So let's get into this timeline of his relationship with Jen Harley. So obviously they started dating in 2017. And yeah, so in April, this has like amazing timestamps. I'm probably not going to read all of them, but it has just like timestamps of like their crazy psychotic relationship. So I think even 6 months into their relationship, she was pregnant. So like I said, they started dating between like February, July 2017. So now this is starting a year later. Or where is the first timestamp? Okay, we have it. Okay. I'm going up because, okay, so the Jersey Shore star and the blonde beauty first started dating sometime between February 2017 and July 2017. The MTV personality broke up with his famously single co-star Malika Hug in February of that year, and Jen posted the first photo of herself kissing Ronnie in July. The pair also made headlines that summer when Ronnie and Jen were at a club in Las Vegas and Ronnie injured his hand. He did not get into a fight. He was with his girlfriend at Tao, and the scuffle broke out around, and the glass was like broken on his hand. Fast forward to, this is like being so slow right now, you guys. Like, and I'm wondering if it's because it's In Touch Weekly. Like, it's just taking forever to load. I'm trying to load up the tea. I might load it up on my phone. Please hold, you guys. Just please hold one moment, because I want to, this storyline is just crazy. Like some of the stuff I have quoted is crazy in here, but this is taking too long to load. Like, what is going on? It's because it's In Touch. That is definitely why. It's too much going on for the iPad. Okay, let me click on it, because like I said, they're back and forth. Crazy. I was like losing my marbles just reading it now, reflecting on everything that happened. Okay. Let's see if it works on my phone. So yeah, so a scuffle broke out and his hand got broke, because people were like alleging like they got in a fight, but they were like, no, there was no fight. Everything was cool. So then from then on, Ronnie and Jen were smitten until they started having bigger issues in their relationship, which was documented on Jersey Shore Family Vacation. It was like a lot of like just a lot of petty toxic stuff. She's the first person, he said, she's the first person I finally fell in love with. I want to settle down and have a family. She's that person for me. The New York native moved to Las Vegas to be with the influencer. So she was an influencer. And then Jen announced 6 months into the relationship that she was pregnant. So she was pregnant like December. And the duo welcomed their baby girl in April 2018 before breaking up and making up like several times after that. Like it was just a tumultuous relationship. But not long after their daughter's arrival, Ronnie accused Jen of cheating on him. And this is when I said this infamous, like he went on, I think it was Snapchat or something. He went on Instagram or something and he said, note to self, can't turn a natural born hoe into a housewife. If you find them in the gutter, then leave them in the gutter. It was his Instagram story. That was April 2018. And then he said, not all people can be saved when they are so far gone. All you have to say is you did your best and keep moving. So it's just like, whoa, what is going on? They were not strangers to letting us know what was going on. So then we have April 2018, while filming an episode of Jersey Shore Family Vacation, Ronnie appeared to be flirting with another woman, but he denied that anything had happened. He said, don't allow someone who talks to you in a snobby, condescending, rude manner get you or intimidate you. Jen posted this during the episode airing. She said that is a sign of an insecure person trying to appear superior to you. Arrogance and condescension are always a sign of weakness. Is definitely this weekly article because it is just loading terribly. So then in June 2018, Jen was arrested for domestic battery in Las Vegas, but it was dropped because of like insufficient evidence. And then July, Ron and Jenny were back together. So this is all in July. Obviously, they welcomed their daughter in July. By August, they were beaching together. Yeah. And then he also went to Instagram to say that living that beach life. Well, she said living that beach life. And then Ronnie said on Instagram, for the record, I love my family, my daughter, and and the mother of my child. Unfortunately, this season caught a rough patch in both of our lives. We stuck together and we got through it. Ariana grows up in a happy home regardless of what is shown and edited on TV. So they were facing a lot of heat for their toxic situation that they brought their daughter into. And in October, so that happened in August. Apparently they broke up sometime between there and in October, because October, Jen had revealed that they were back together. And then also, gosh. So then in October, there was this post that Ronnie had made of 2018, and he had a black eye. He said, sorry for lying to my friends and family. Sometimes you love people so much you're willing to lie and then hurt the people that you love the most to protect. Implying that Jen was the one that gave him the black eye. I mean, it looked like it. I mean, this video, I'm going to zoom in on the picture. You can see the black eye for those on YouTube. Like, you can see it. I mean, it looks crazy. It's just crazy that he would even post that, but whatever. They were going through it at the time. So then Jen also told a fan in the comment section that she will never speak to Ronnie after an incident. This was also in October. Something happened in October. But then a day later, after she said that, they posted their Halloween couple costume, and he was the Joker and she was Quinn. So it's just like, what is going on? So they were clearly fine after that. I'm trying to get through this, but this article is not letting me be great. So then they were back together in October after the black eye accusations, all this stuff. She was Harley Quinn, he was the Joker. Now we're fast forward to November when Ronnie went into the hot tub with Angelina in the episode, or with Angelina's friend Lindsay, and he got candid about actually what happened as the episode's airing. He said it's edited to make it look worse. He claimed, I was in a bad place in my life and my relationship, and I acted out of anger and immature resentment. Since then, I've grown and wouldn't want to hurt my girlfriend or my daughter. Everyone makes mistakes, and you'll see next week what I learned from mine. December, they're spending Christmas together. Beautiful. And then January 2019, apparently the two had got into a fight on New Year's Eve and called it quits. And then Ronnie had actually filed a battery report against Jen after she allegedly threw a glass ashtray at him. "Quote unquote, at approximately 2:15 a.m., LVMPD patrol officers responded to the residence located in the 8200 block of Broad Branch Way for a report of a possible burglary and destruction of property. The case obviously was later dropped, and then in March, they were back together, March 2019, allegedly, for their daughter's birthday, her first birthday. All of this happening within a year is crazy. I know. And then in April, they literally like tricked us with we got married on April Fool's Day for 2019. And they had shared a kiss on social media as well. I don't know why they keep updating us, but hey, this is amazing for my research. But then by May, so after April, it looks like they're together. By May, the mom of two was arrested. So she also has a son. She was arrested for domestic battery in Las Vegas. According to court records, she was taken into custody and held on $3,000 bond, and charges were later then dropped. And then in June, she posted like a special like Father's Day post for him, like saying she loves him. July, for 4th of July weekend. I cannot with this picture, you guys. Their 4th of July posts, they were cozying up for 4th of July weekend. And then by September 2019, she went to Instagram and posted pictures of Ronnie with a mysterious woman on a boat. And she said, "Is this love or is this a mistake? This is Ron this weekend with another girl again." Yikes. And then this was the ultimate kicker. October 2019, Ronnie was arrested for kidnapping in Los Angeles after an alleged altercation with Jen just hours before the two packed on the PDA at his CBD launch party in West Hollywood. Officers responded to a battery in progress in the 7200 block of Woodrow Wilson Drive at around 2:40 a.m. Suspect and victim were involved in some kind of physical altercation. When officers were at the location, the suspect was cooperative. Officers had to use a taser, so there was a minor use of force that occurred. Now, kidnapping, I'm assuming he took their daughter. I don't know. So then October 2019, the Los Angeles Police Department issued an emergency protective order preventing Ronnie from seeing Jen. So something had happened again. He was later then charged with 7 misdemeanors: willfully inflicting corporal injury to spouse or cohabitant, brandishing a weapon, willful and unlawful criminal threats, false imprisonment, child endangerment, and 2 counts of resisting arrest. Ronnie pled not guilty and was ordered to stay away from Jen and his daughter. Ultimately, Ronnie is sticking to the story that the facts and circumstances around Ronnie's arrest have been misreported and exaggerated. That's what his attorney has said. And they were trying to figure that out. And then November, Jen had announced she was trying to get those charges dropped. She didn't. She said she just wanted a family for her daughter. Yeah. So then by February 2020, a Los Angeles judge asked the MTV alum to stop contacting his former girl during a court hearing. The victim is in court because he was still trying to contact her to see the baby. The victim is in court and she was contacted by the defendant at the end of the next year. Yikes. I'm trying to see, when is he? So then we finally get some traction. By May 2020, he was able to negotiate a plea deal in his domestic violence case with Jen, allowing him to avoid jail time. The reality star pled to no contest to 1 count of domestic battery and 1 count of resisting arrest. He was told to complete 30 days of community labor in the state and 36 months of probation, as well as domestic violence program, while keeping peaceful contact with the mother of his child. And then the exes were able to reunite by August. And at the time, they were photographed together, co-parenting. I don't know what has happened maybe it'll tell me, but by October 2020, he was in a new relationship with this girl named Sapphire. We're going to get to that. Sapphire, crazy. Oh, period. And so then by December 2020, he was engaged to Sapphire. Ronnie then was, there's another update. I'm like at the last slide. There was something else that happened. Let's see. This is like the last one. Because I think then he was arrested again in 2021 for something. And I'm just like, dude, this is an ongoing. Him and Jen's relationship was toxic. Yeah. So then by April 2021, Ronnie was arrested for domestic violence in Los Angeles. His daughter Ariana was with him. It was his turn to watch her this week, but she is in safe hands now. The incident did not involve his ex, Jen Harley. He was ultimately not charged and was released the next day after posting a $100,000 bond. Why was he arrested in 2021? I think because amid probation. But he did not do, I think he probably was in fault for something, but it did not involve Jen, or did it involve Sapphire? Because there's another story I was going to read that, but it's not really a story. It wasn't really developed. It was a story basically about Sapphire, his fiance at the time, calling the police on him. And there was stories on Reddit that he allegedly punched her in the face. I don't know if that's true. I can't find any legit information that it actually happened, but apparently that's what happened. But that's really the end. He somehow now has full custody. That In Touch thing is not working, but he somehow has full custody of his daughter. And I don't know if it's like on good terms, but we do know he has full custody of his daughter, and he lives a very low-key life right now in Vegas, right? No, in Miami with her. But there was also something. So that's when he was arrested. I said he was arrested April 2021. That's when he was arrested, because this story came in. Ronnie ended up getting arrested because cops say his girlfriend had visible marks on her body when they showed up responding to her call for help. And that's the week he was supposed to be watching his daughter. His daughter was with him, so she had visible bruises. Law enforcement tell us it was actually Ronnie's girlfriend Sapphire who called the police that night after they got into some type of argument that allegedly got physical. We're told when officers arrived, they spoke to both parties and determined Ronnie was the aggressor. As for why, our sources tell us officers observed visible marks on Sapphire's body, which they determined she sustained during the alleged fight. We're told that this was one of the multiple observations that spurred police to slap the cuffs on Ronnie. TMZ. This is interesting because it shows Sapphire had enough of a problem with whatever was going on to actually pick up the phone, dial 911. Since Ronnie's arrest, she's tried to downplay the alleged violence. So she then went on her Instagram story and she was like, Ronnie and I are fine. There's a lot of misleading information floating around out there. With anybody who reached out with concern, I appreciate it with all my heart, but everything that's being portrayed out there are not facts. I don't think it's fair that people are using false accusations to gain attention. Please leave Ron and I alone. You don't know what someone is going through at the end of the day. Don't believe everything you hear or read online. I appreciate the support, the privacy, please. Thank you. So we know now that they broke off their engagement by like December 2021. Like they did not make it by far. But yes, like I said, as we know, he's in good hands. He's been good. Has returned on Jersey Shore family vacation because of all the domestic violence stuff. MTV and Ronnie ultimately decided to part ways. It was mutually beneficial because he was just constantly in the press with the domestic stuff with Jen, constantly getting arrested. She was getting arrested, and I think Jersey Shore just wanted to maintain like the Reboot's name, and they didn't want him a part of it. And I think he even kind of went like distant from the group, but he's like back in with them. But he's not really back on Jersey Shore family vacation. He's just kind of like a guest star on there. He comes when he can, but he's really working on his mental health at the moment. So that was that. Let's talk about these spinoffs and then let's wrap it up. That was our episode. Our deep dive of Jersey Shore that took forever. But you see why? Because I have the research. Let's get into these spinoffs. So after Jersey Shore's major success, there have been multiple spinoffs. Even so, the Jersey Shore was supposed to be getting rebooted. Do you guys remember when Jersey Shore was supposed to be getting rebooted? I think it was like 2021. Jersey Shore Family Vacation was on though, but they wanted to reboot Jersey Shore. This is the era they're trying to reboot all the shows. You know, they just reboot Vanderpump. They should just let it in. I've never seen a cast so united besides Vanderpump. And maybe Vanderpump thought if they followed in Jersey Shore's, steps, that the Vanderpump new reboot would have been washed away. Because Jersey Shore, that whole cast, the OG cast, was very outspoken at the time on social media and the blogs and interviews that they did not want this spinoff happening. They just thought it was going to exploit them. And they didn't want their IP given to a new group of strangers when they're the ones that made it. I don't know how they won that. MTV clearly backed down. I'm assuming the people were like, we're walking away from Jersey Shore Family Vacation if you bring on a set of new folks. So Jersey Shore reboot never had a reboot, but there were talks of it being a reboot, them picking cast, but it was quickly killed. I would love to see who they were going to put on there, but it was supposed to be a bunch of young 20-somethings, going back to the Shore House. They were trying to redo that. It got killed. That aside, Jersey Shore has birthed a lot of spinoffs alone. Jersey Shore has. We did the Snooki and JWoww. That was 4 seasons. It documented, obviously, Snooki and JWoww as mothers. Their houses were very similar to each other, like very close proximity to each other. And then we had the Pauly D Project, which was mostly obviously about Pauly D. We had Double Shot at Love, which I really enjoyed. That's where Pauly met Nikki, who he is still currently with. That aired 2019 through 2021. It was a dating show for him and Vinny. Vinny did not find no one, even though I always remember Eva, that girl. I thought him and Vinny would have been good, but apparently Vinny had a girlfriend at the time of Double Shot of Love. I don't know if that's confirmed, but that's what the Reddit threads were saying. They were like, Vinny had a whole girlfriend during the time. So it was like, dude, what was you doing on there, right? And then we have the show with Vinny. I vaguely remember this show. This show was about different celebrities visiting Vinny and his family in Staten Island. They would come and have dinner with his family, like his mother, because he's a mama's boy. Lil Wayne was on there, Mark Wahlberg. They had some celebrities on there. And then there was the show, I said the Sorrentos. And that happened in 2014. And it was a spinoff with Mike and his family. And Lauren was actually on there at the time, his high school sweetheart. So I wonder if that shows us how they got back together. Because I don't know how they got back together. We know they went to high school together, but we don't know how they got back together. It's not on, she never came to Jersey Shore, or maybe she did, but I don't know how they got together. I'm very interested in that. Maybe I'll do a deep dive on their relationship from high school sweethearts to party boy to party lifestyle to married with children. I don't know. Maybe I'll look into that, but I don't think it was on Jersey Shore that was discussed. And then we have shows that had nothing to do with Jersey Shore, but just because of Jersey Shore's huge success, MTV wanted to try these shows. Obviously, we have Floribama Shore. You can't talk about Jersey Shore and not talk about Floribama Shore as a successful spinoff because it had 4 seasons. I never could get into Floribama Shore. That was that Florida, Alabama Shore thing, I think. But people love Floribama Shore. They have a huge audience. It was shocking when it was canceled. So that ran 2017 to 2021. It seemed like it just got canceled because I remember people were shocked when it didn't come back. People loved Floribama Shore. Then there was Buckhead Shore. That came out in 2022. I don't think a lot of people know. That was one season. That was described as the Beverly Hills Kids in Atlanta. And a connection with Buckhead Shore, if you guys are watching Next Gen NYC with Ariana Behrman, her ex now, Hudson, dad is the owner, or grandpa, I think it's the dad, is the owner of Zaxby's. His half brother is Parker. Parker Littman is Chase Chrisley, the Chrisleys, Todd and Julie, son. Parker used to be on Chrisley Knows Best as his best friend. Parker's dad owns Zaxby's. Parker and Hudson two different three different networks. Really, you want to talk about? We got USA Network in there. We got Bravo. We got MTV. Hudson and Parker are half brothers. Their dad owns Zaxby's. I say that to say Buckhead Shore has some very influential Beverly Hills meets Atlanta kids. They had Juju Barney on there. Juju's the son of Magic City Strip Club owner. What was his name? Michael Barney. Magic, they used to call him. That's why he opened up Magic City. And then there was DJ Simmons, who was the son of Daryl Simmons, R&B record producer. And I'm pretty sure, isn't that Russell Lee Simmons' brother? I gotta see. Daryl, I gotta look that up. Or did I just make that up? Brother. Record producer. Who was his brother? Isn't that Russell Simmons' brother? Known for, I don't think that's Russell Simmons' brother. But Daryl Simmons, you would work with like Babyface, Manchild. He was in an R&B group, but worked with Babyface. Like I feel like Daryl Simmons, it was just a bunch of like people, and there was like their exes and like their girlfriends. Buckhead Shore, I'm shocked it didn't last longer. It only had one season, regardless. Then we had Vegas Shore, which Nikki was supposed to be on. So Double Shot at Love was supposed to be one season. Paulie did not pick Nikki at the end of that. He wanted to, but they didn't work out. And then it wasn't until Double Shot at Love came back for, it was either the second or the third season. I think it was the second season where him and Nikki like did officially, go all the way. And then I think the third season they tried to do Vegas Shore, where this group of people are working at Dre's. And I'm pretty sure Nikki was on there. But was she on there? She was on there as Paulie's girlfriend. She was supposed to be, but they labeled it Double Shot at Love. They changed the name of it. They didn't want to call it Vegas Shore. And there's actually something interesting going on Twitter right now. And they're trying to talk about like what really happened, like why did it turn into a Double Shot at Love third season? Because then they added men to the cast. It was the women from Double Shot at Love that had competed for their love, but then they added men, and the men were very like Italian, like very just like Italian Guidos. So, but they called the show Double Shot at Love season 3, but I think it was supposed to be marketed as Vegas Shore. Something happened there. So we'll see. I might talk about it on Toxic Tuesday if more stuff comes out, because this is coming out now on Twitter. And I just thought that was interesting. Then we had All Star Shore, which was hosted by Benny but narrated by DJ Pauly D. That went on 2021, 2022. Infamously a couple not existing to Jersey Shore. But that's where Gia Janey from Love is Blind first season met Blake Horseman, who was on The Bachelorette one of those seasons. And they're like married or engaged. At least they have like a whole kid. Like that's where we saw their love story, if you didn't know. They met on reality TV. And then currently there's a Geordie Shore that is still airing. And that is based in the UK. And it's still airing. And it's super successful in the UK. Some of the Geordie Shore characters were on All Star Shore. Was All Star Shore? I don't know if it was hosted by Vinny, but it was definitely narrated by Pauly D. It was just something, it was like low stakes show to watch. It wasn't anything high stakes. It was like they had challenges though. Johnny from Love Island universe was on there. I can't stand him. The guy with no neck. Where are they now? So Snooki would eventually find her Guido at the Jersey Shore. Her and Gianni ended up marrying after she infamously forgot his name in bed. And he's like, say my name. And she couldn't remember his name. But they ended up getting married. They have 2 kids together. They got married like in 2012, 2013. Obviously, JWoww ended up meeting Roger at the Jersey Shore. We know they recently separated. What was that, 2021? Or they separated. They officially divorced in 2019. They have 2 kids together, but we know she's with that younger guy. She's been with him since like 2021. And they would call her on Jersey Shore Family Vacation 24. I don't know if he was 24, but I know he was a wrestler and his number was 24. And he may have been 24. He's not 24 anymore. Maybe that's why they still called him that. Pauly D actually welcomed a child in 2013. Obviously, he went on Famously Single, dated Aubrey O'Day before officially, that was 2015 through 2017, before officially settling down with, I don't say official, I am waiting on him to propose, because he has met Nikki's family in Jamaica. They are always together. She's been on there for like all the seasons on Jersey Shore Family Vacation. He infamously broke that door down on Angelina, so Nikki could pour wine on her after she poured no, so she could pour wine on her after Angelina poured wine on her. I don't know. That scene was hot. He broke that door down. He was like, "You don't bring wine to a water fight," and broke that door down and let his girl get his lick back. They've been together for a while. I am shocked they are not engaged. Nikki has been obsessed with him since Double Shot of Love. The girls used to be mad at Nikki on Double Shot of Love. I loved Nikki. Me and my sister used to watch Double Shot of Love. And we just always thought, like, Benny, what are you doing on here? You're not even looking for someone. He had a girlfriend back home, but the girls used to hate on Nikki because Paulie and her, they really had a vibe. It was like fireworks. So much he really wanted her to come back on the second season. She became cool with the other girls, and that's the only reason she came back the second season, for the other girls. And like he like won her over. They started dating again. He loved himself some Nikki. Where is the proposal? Let me not say nothing, because whenever I say that, I jinx somebody's relationship, I swear. Okay, so Mike, obviously, he went through his whole like tax evasion stuff. You know, he's remained sober since 2015, though. He served his time in 2019. Him and Lauren struggled with fertility issues. You know, they were really trying to get pregnant. And now, luckily, they do have a son and two daughters. And they've been married ever since I don't know when they got married. They got married like I think like in 2018. They got married in between him going off to prison, and I think it was strategic because she could go visit him in prison and they could have, you know, those special visits. I think they got married, and then 2 months later he had to turn himself in, unfortunately. But he was back 8 months later. He was able to serve his time quickly, came back, and they're living happily ever after. Vinny, I don't know. Vinny's laying low. He's still like the single one in the group. I don't know if he has a girlfriend. I know he's like flirted with like bachelorettes here and there. Like he's been spotted with certain girls. But he's really marketed himself as the keto Guido. He's in the best shape of his life. He had that Chippendales gig. Obviously, he's still on Jersey Shore Family Vacation as well. Sammy recently was on Jersey Shore Family Vacation. She welcomed a son, though, in August of 2025, which is crazy to say. We're in 2026. And then she just got married in December 2025. So, and now we're seeing Sammy on Jersey Shore Family Vacation. For the longest, we didn't see her. I don't think they wanted it to be an overlap with Ronnie. Eventually, I don't know if I'm gonna watch Jersey Shore Family Vacation. I watched like the first 2 seasons, but then I was just kind of like over it. But I did want to watch when Ronnie and Sammy eventually see each other eye to eye. Now it's like so done, right? Like he's moved on, she's moved on, and she's described it the best way. She's like, this is just some guy I dated in my 20s. Because that's really what it was. Like, this is a man I just dated in my 20s. You know what I mean? Toxic, but it's just a guy I dated in my 20s. Nothing significant about it. Even though they had gotten back together on and off after Jersey Shore ended, but they officially split like in 2015, I think. Was it 2015? I think it was 2015, 2016 officially. And then we got Ronnie, obviously, like I was talking about, his whole scandal of a relationship that led to his, you know, exit at Jersey Shore Family Vacation. But he welcomed a daughter in 2018. He has had small appearances now on Jersey Shore Family Vacation. He seems to be doing better. Angelina, I think, is like the biggest shock. She has been back on Jersey Shore Family Vacation as a full-time cast member, even though she's like ebbed and flowed with the girls. Like they wanted to hang out with her, didn't want to hang out with her. She's kind of made her way back in with the group after like leaving so shockingly and all this stuff. But, you know, she ended up marrying Chris on like November 2019, but they ended up divorcing. He filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences, which caused a breakdown of their marriage. But now she's with this new guy whose name happens to be Vinny Tortorella, who proposed in April 2023. And since then, the pair have been on and off. I don't know if they're still together. I think they're still together, but they've been like on and off. And then obviously we got Dina. I know I didn't really mention Dina, and Dina is a big part of like Jersey Shore, but I always like forget Dina. I don't know. she's not like the main. That's why I always forget. But she's been married since 2017. Her husband's been featured on Jersey Shore Family Vacation. She's been featured on Jersey Shore Family Vacation as a main cast member. She has 2 sons. And yes, that is the whole group. This was your full deep dive of Jersey Shore Family Vacation. Thank you so much for listening and bearing with me to get this second part out. I'm so glad we did it. Now we can rest because that was that. I might pick an easier topic next, not a 2-parter, just something that'll be like fun to deep dive for fun that won't be as like intense. This wasn't that as intense. I'll tell you what's intense for me to do the deep dives on: the housewife friendship fallouts. Those are what is intense. And I still have so many to do, but those I have been taking a break from. Those, because you really got to analyze episodes, and I enjoy it, but that's what takes up my time, are the friendship fallouts or infamous housewife breakups, like the Mario, Ramona, the Bethany Frankel, which is still like one of my highest rated and most watched, listened episodes. If you haven't listened, Bethany Frankel and Carol Radziwill's friendship fallout is one of my most viewed episodes because I break down what really happened. And I think people love Roni. And then obviously like Ramona and Mario is another pretty high one. Paige DeSorbo and Craig Conover. I've done so many, but I don't know what my next topic is going to be. I like to just be and exist and figure out what I want to do from there. But thank you so much for listening. I will see you guys Toxic Tuesday, and we are going to be talking about a lot of premieres that are happening, but I will catch you guys next time. Bye.